Welcome to Dynamic Studies. So today is day 9 and we will discuss unit 9 for paper code 17 management. The syllabus of unit 9 is international business, managing business in globalization era, theory of international trade, balance of payment, foreign direct investment, benefit and its cost, multilateral regulation of trade and investment under WTO, international trade procedures, documentation, EXIM, policies, role of International Finance Institute, IMF and World Bank, information technology, use of computers in management application, MIS, DSS, artificial intelligence and big data, data warehousing, data mining, knowledge management concept, management, technological changes. So let's get started. International finance. In this unit, we will discuss various components of businesses in international market. Okay, international trade or various international organizations, balance of payment and other topics. Okay, so the first topic is international business. International business. What is international business? What is business? Business is trade of goods and services. Okay, so international business is trade of goods and services over international borders is known as international business. Okay, it involves cross-border transaction of goods and services between two or more countries. Transaction of economic resources like capital, skills, people for the purpose of international production of physical goods and services such as finance, banking, insurance, construction. International business is also known as globalization. Okay. So to conduct the business overseas, multinational companies need to bridge separate national market into one global marketplace. There are two macro scale factors that underline trend of greater globalization. The first consists of eliminating barrier to make cross border trade easier, and another one is technological changes, particularly development in communication, information process, transportation technology. Okay, so this is all about international businesses. So international businesses is also refers as what? Cross-border commerce and other business transaction between government, companies, the exchange of goods and services among individual business in multiple countries. Okay. Now, what is trade? Trade plays an important role in international businesses. So, trade involves transfer of goods and services from one person or entity to another, often in exchange of money. A system or a network that allows trade is called market. Okay. An earlier form of trade is known as barter. There was barter system, then saw the direct exchange of goods and services for other goods and services. But in recent era, barter system is no longer. The modern trader is buying and selling concept is most famous, in which buying is occur and selling is occur in exchange of money. Now the invention of money and non-physical money greatly simplified and promote trade. Okay, trade between two traders is known as bilateral trader. Please note down this point that trade between two traders is known as bilateral trade. Okay, this question has been asked. I know this seems very easy one, that trade between two will obviously be bilateral, but sometime in exam we get confused with this word bilateral exam. So bilateral trade. Okay, now international trade theories. International trade theory is subfield of economics which analyze the pattern of international trade, its origin, its welfare implications. International trade policies have been international trade policies has been highly controversial since 18th century. Up to our days, international trade theory and economic itself have developed it as a mean to evaluate the effect of trade policies. Okay, now let us discuss first the mode of entry in international businesses. Okay, so the first mode is direct exporting. Direct exporting is what? It's typically involved direct exporting your goods and product to overseas market. For some business, it is fastest mode of entry into international businesses. Direct exporting in this case could also be understood as direct sales. Okay, This subtitle suggests you, a product owner in India, go out to, say, the Middle East with your own sale force to reach out to the customer. Okay, so direct exporting is exporting your goods or product to the other countries directly. Okay, now what is then next one is licensing and finance. Franchisee. Okay, so the company which want to establish a retail presence in an overseas market with minimal risk, the licensing and franchisee practice strategy allow another person or business assume the risk on behalf of the company. Okay, so licensing and why licensing and franchising came into the picture, because to reduce the risk involved in direct exporting. In direct exporting, various risk has been involved. So to reduce these risks, licensing and franchising came into the picture. Okay, so this minimize the risk. Okay, so in licensing agreement and franchisees, an overseas based business will pay you a royalty or commission, okay, to use your brand name. They will pay you the royalty or commission to use their brand name, manufacturing process, product, trademark and other intellectual properties. Okay, so this is all about licensing and franchising. Now joint ventures. What is joint venture? Joint venture is one of the preferred mode of entry into international businesses for business who do not mind sharing their brand knowledge or enterprise. Okay, so company wishing to expand into overseas market can form joint venture with local businesses in overseas location, wherein both joint venture partners share the reward and risk association with business. Okay, so please note down this point. In joint venture, the risk and reward are associated with both the partner in equal ratio. Okay, now what is strategic acquisition? Strategic acquisition typically implies that your company acquire a controlling interest in an existing company in overseas market. This acquired company can be directly or indirectly involved in offering similar product or services in overseas market. Okay, so in strategic acquisition, this basically company acquire controlling interest in existing company overseas. Okay, so they acquire the directly or indirectly involved in similar product or service in overseas market. Okay, they are dealing in similar product in overseas market. Now there is most important concept. This is foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment involve a company entering an overseas market by making a substantial investment in the country. Okay, some of the mode of entry into the international business using the foreign direct investment strategy include mergers, acquisition, joint venture, greenfield investment. Okay, so this is all about the mode of entry in international businesses. Now let us discuss various trade barrier. So what is trade barrier? Trade barrier are the barriers. Listen, the international overseas market business is very risky. Okay, in this transactional risk are involved in overseas market. Okay, so to overcome the risk, various trade barriers have been applied by government. Okay, so trade barrier are government induced restrictions on international trade. Economists generally agree that trade barriers are detrimental and decrease overall economic efficiency. Why? Because economists believe that the trade barriers are not good for our economy. Why? Because it reduces the economic efficiency. Okay, so please note down this point, that economists generally agree that trade barriers are detrimental to economic efficiency. They mention this in theory of comparative advantage. Okay, in theory of comparative advantage, economist has mentioned that the trade barrier are detrimental to economic efficiency. Okay, so most trade barrier work on the same principle, the imposition of some sort of cost on trade that arise the price of availability of traded product. If two or more nations rapidly use trade barrier against each other, then trade war result. Okay, now barriers take the form of tariffs. Okay, which impose a financial burden on importers on non-tariff barriers. which use other overt covert means to restrict import, occasionally export. Okay. In theory, free trade involves the removal of all such barriers except perhaps those considered necessary for health and national security. In practice, however, even those countries promoting free trade heavily subsidize certain industries such as agriculture, steel. Now, type of trade barrier, as I already mentioned, there are two type of trade barrier, that is tariff and non-tariff. A tariff is a tax on importer or exporter between sovereign state. It is a form of regulation of foreign trade and a policy that taxes foreign product to encourage or safeguard domestic industries. Traditionally, it was analyzed that state have used them as source of income. Okay, now they are amongst the most widely used instruments of protectionism, along with import and export quota. Now, tariff can be fixed, a constant sum per unit of importer goods, or they can be variable. Okay. Now, non-tariff barriers are also known as non-tariff measures. Okay. So these restrict import export of goods and services through mechanisms other than simple imposition of tariffs. Okay. All the impositions other than tariff means are known as non-tariff. Now, quotas. What are quotas? Quotas are restrictions that limit the quantity or monetary value of specific goods, services that can be imported over a certain period of time. The idea behind this is to reduce the quantitative of competitive product in local market, which increase demand for local goods and services. For example, let's take the example of US government. US government could decide to limit the amount of candy bars that can be imported from Japan to 10,000 every year. Okay, so quota is basically limiting the exporting importing. Okay, so like now in this example, US government has decided that only 10,000 candy will be imported from Japan every year. Okay, so this is all about tariff barrier. Now let us discuss what is globalization. Globalization is a process of integration among people, company and government worldwide as a complex and multi-faceted phenomena. Globalization considered by some as the form of capitalist expansion which entailed the integration of local national economic into global unregulated market economy. Globalization has grown due to advance in transportation communication technology. With the increased global interaction comes the growth of international trade ideas culture. Globalization is primarily an economic process of interaction integration that associated with social culture aspect. Now, international trade theories. This topic is very important. Please listen to the lecture carefully. Various questions previously in exams has been asked from this topic, that is international trade theory. First one is classical country-based trade theory. This is also known as mercantilism. Okay, developed in 16th century. Mercantilism was one of the earliest efforts to develop an economic theory. This was the oldest one. This theory stated that a country's wealth was determined by amount of its goods, gold and silver holding. Okay, they are basically said that the wealth of a country is the amount of holding goods and silver. Okay, in its simple sense, mercantilists believe that a country should increase its holding of gold and silver by promoting export and discouraging imports. In other words, if people in other country buy more from you than they sell to you, then they have to pay you the difference in gold and silver. Okay, in this way they are increasing their gold and silver profits. The objective of each country at that time was to have trade surplus, the situation where the value of export are greater than the value of import, to avoid a trade deficit, or the situation where the value of import is greater than the value of export. Okay, so this is theory of mercantilism. This strategy is also known as protectionism. It is still used today. Okay, nations expanding their wealth by using their colonies around the world in an effort to control more trade and amass more riches. Now another theory is Hector-Olim theory or factor proportion theory. This theory of Smith and Ricardo did not help countries determine which product would give a country an advantage. Both theories assume that free and open market would lead country and proceed to determine which goods they could produce more efficiently. In early 90s, two Swedish economists, Hexen and Burton-Olim, focused on attention of how a country could gain comparative advantage by producing products that utilize factors that were in abundant in country. This theory is basically based on country's production factor, that is land, labor, capital. These are important points, please note down. This theory is based on country's production factor, that is land, labor, capital, which provide the funds for investment in plants and equipment. They determine that the cost of any factor or resource was a function of supply and demand. Factors that were in a great supply relative to demand would be cheaper. Factor in great demand relative to supply would be more expensive. This theory is also known as factor proportion theory. It states that countries would produce and export goods that require resource factor that were in great supply and therefore cheaper production factor. In contrast, country would import goods that require resource that were in short supply but higher demand. Let us understand this concept by an example, that is China and India. They are home to cheap, large pools of labor, hence these countries have become the optimal location for labor intensive industries like textile and garments. Okay, there is another term that is associated with this theory, that is Leon-Thrift paradox. Guys, please listen that this theory and this Leonto paradox, this has been asked previously in exam. Okay, so in this factor proportion theory, the main focus is land, labor and capital. Okay, in Leonto paradox, this was developed by Russian born American economist Vasily Leontief. Okay, studied US economy closely. Okay, he noted down that United States was abundant in capital. Okay, therefore should export more capital intensive good. However, his research using actual data shown the opposite. United States was importing more capital intensive goods. According to the factor proportion theory, United States should have been importing labor intensive goods, but instead it was actually exporting them. His analysis became known as Leontief paradox because it was reverse of what was expected the factor proportion theory. That's why this is the crux of the matter, that this is the reason why Leontief paradox is important, because this is totally opposite concept of Hazard's Ohilin theory, factor proportion theory. Okay, so question has been asked that which is the opposite of this theory or which is the concept related to this theory. Okay, so in subsequent year, economists have noted historically at that point in time, labor in United States was both available in steady supply, more productive than many other countries. So this is all about these both theories or Leontief paradox. Okay, now let us discuss modern firm-based trade theory. In contrast to classical country-based trade theory, the category of modern firm-based theory emerges after World War II. This theory was developed after World War II. Okay, that developed it in large part of business school professor, not economists. The firm-based theory evolved with the growth of multinational companies. Okay, after World War II, the multinational company concept was evolving, and this theory has been developed in that era. Okay, the country based theory couldn't adequately address the expansion of either MNCs or intra industry trade, which refer to trade between two countries of goods produced in the same industry. For example, Japan export Toyota vehicle to Germany, import Mercedes Benz automobile to Germany. Okay, unlike the country-based theory, firm-based theory incorporate other product and service factors, including brand, customer loyalty, technology, quality, into the understanding of trade flows. Now let us discuss country similarity theory. So, this theory tried to explain the concept of intra-industry trade. Okay, Linder's theory proposed that this theory was developed by Stephen Linder. Okay, so Linder theory proposed that consumer in countries that are in same or similar stage of development would have similar preferences. Okay, in this firm-based theory, Linder suggests that this theory is also firm-based theory. Okay, so Linder suggests that company first produce for domestic consumption. When they explore exporting, the company often find that market that looks similar to their domestic one in terms of customer preference offer the most potential for success. Linder country similar theory then state that the most trade in manufactured good will be between countries with similar per capita income and intra-industry trade will be common. This theory is often most popular when in that era. Okay, so this theory is often most useful in understanding trade in goods, where brand name and product reputation are important factor in buyers decision making purchasing process. Okay, so this based on the similar market concept of domestic country, domestic market or the international markets. Okay, in this, now let us discuss product life cycle theory. This was developed by Raymond Vernon, the Harvard Business School professor. Please note down this term. Raymond Vernon had developed product life cycle theory. I have seen many year questions on this topic, that product life cycle theory was given by whom. So the answer would be Raymond Vernon. Okay, he was a Harvard Business School professor, developed the product life cycle theory in 1960s. Theory originated in the field of marketing, stated that product life cycle has three distinct stages: new product, maturity and standardized product. Okay, please note down these stages as well, because question has been asked from this area also. The distinct stage of product in product life cycle theory is new product, maturity product and standardized product. The theory assumes that production of new product will occur completely in a home country of its innovation. In 1960s, this was useful theory to explain manufacturing success of United States. Okay, so it has also been used to describe how the personal computer went through its product cycle. Okay, the product life cycle theory has been less able to explain current trade pattern, where innovation and manufacturing occur around the world. For example, global company even conduct research development in developing market where highly skilled labor facilities are usually cheaper. Now next theory is global strategic rivalry theory. This theory is came into picture in 1980s. Okay, this was based on the work of economist Paul Krugman, Calvin Launceston. This theory focused on MNC. Okay, their efforts to gain a competitive advantage against other global firms in their industry. Firms will encounter global competition in their industry, and in order to prosper, they must develop competitive advantage. The critical way that firm can obtain a sustainable competitive advantage are called barrier to entry for the industry. The barrier to entry refers to obstacle a new firm may face when trying to enter into the industry or a new market. The barrier to entry that corporate may seek and optimize include research and development, ownership of intellectual property rights, economic of scale, unique business process and method, as well as extensive experience in industry, the control of research or favorable access to raw material. Now, Porter's national competitive advantage theory. In the continuing evaluation of international trade theories, Michel Porter developed a new model to explain national competency advantage in 1990s. Porter theory states that nation competitiveness is an industry depend on capacity of industry to innovate, upgrade. His theory focused on explaining why some nations are more competitive in certain industry. To explain this theory, Porter identified four determinants that he linked together. The four determinants are local market resource and capability, local market demand condition, local supplier and complementary industry, local firm characteristics. So this is all about the theories related to international market. Now let us discuss United Nations Conference on Trade and Development. Okay, so please listen carefully. This is very important topic. Note down all the dates which I am going to tell you. This was established in 1964 as a permanent intergovernment body. I am repeating, this was established in 1964 as permanent intergovernment body. United Nations Conference on Trade and Development is a part of United Nations Secretariat dealing with trade, investment, development issues. The organization goal are to maximize trade, investment, development opportunity of developing countries and assist them in their efforts to integrate into the world economy on the equitable basis. Okay. UNITAD was established by UN General Assembly in 1964. It reports to UN General Assembly. Okay, they directly report to UN General Assembly as they have established by UN General Assembly. That's why United Nations Economic Social Council. Okay, they also report to United Nations Economic Social Council. What are the primary objective of UNITAD? Is to formulate policy relating to all the aspect of development, including trade, ed, transport, finance, technology. The conference ordinarily meet once in 4 years. Okay, this conference took place once in 4 years, and the permanent secretariat is in Geneva. Okay, one of the principal achievement of UNITAD 1964 has been to conceive and implement the Generalized System of Preference (GSP). It was argued that UNITAD that to promote export of manufactured goods from developing countries, it would be necessary to offer a special tariff concession to such exporters. Accepting this argument, the developed country formulate GSP scheme. Okay, this GSP scheme is very important. Under which manufacturers export import of some agriculture goods from developing countries enter duty free or at reduced rate in developed countries, since import of such item from other developed country are subject to normal rates of duty. Import of same item from developing countries would enjoy a competitive advantage. Okay, so this is all about UNITAD. Now let us discuss Bretton Woods system. Okay, so Bretton Woods system of monetary management established the rule of commercial financial relation among United States, Canada, Western European countries, Australia, Japan after 1944. This came into picture after 1944. Okay, in 1944, Bretton Woods Agreement has been took place between USA, Canada, Western European countries, Australia and Japan. Bretton Woods system was the first example of fully negotiated monetary order intended to govern monetary relations among independent states, and the chief feature of Bretton Woods system were an obligation for each country to adopt a monetary policy that maintained its external exchange rate within 1% by tying its currency to gold, and ability of IMF to bridge temporary imbalance of payment. Also, there was a need to address the lack of cooperation among other countries and to prevent competitive devaluation of currency as well. Okay, now let us discuss what is World Bank. World Bank is international financial institute that provide loans, grants to the government of poorer countries for the purpose of pursuing capital project. It comprised two institutes, the International Bank of Reconstruction and Development and International Development Association. So, IBRD and IDA are subsidiary of World Bank. This question has been asked in exam. Like the subsidiary of World Banks are, okay, so the subsidiary of World Bank are International Bank of Reconstruction and Development, IRDA, and IDA, that is International Development Association. So the World Bank is a component of World Bank Group. The World Bank most recent state goal is reduction of poverty. Okay, this is the main motto of the World Bank. Okay, as of November 2018, the largest recipient of World Bank loan were India, that is $859 million in 2018, and China, that is $370 million in 2018. So we this is all about World Bank. Now we will discuss the International Bank Reconstruction Development. Okay, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development is an international financial institute that offer loans to middle income developing countries. Okay, they offer loans to middle income developing countries. Is a first of 5 member institute that compose World Bank Group and is headquartered in Washington DC. Please note down this point. The headquarter is in Washington DC in United States. It was established in 1944 with the mission of financing reconstruction in European nation devastated by World War II. Now, International Development Association. So this offer concession loan grant to world poorest developing countries. Okay, so IBRD give the loans and grants to the middle economic countries, and IDA give the loans and grants to world poorest developing countries. IDA is a member of World Bank Group, and it's also headquartered in Washington DC. It was established in 1960. Okay, now let us discuss International Financial Corporation. This offer investment advisory and asset management service to encourage private sector development in less developed countries. So this corporation is basically formed to encourage private sector development, okay, in less developed country. So International Finance Corporation is a member of, this is also member of World Bank Group. It's also headquartered in Washington DC. It was established in 1956, okay, as a private sector arm of World Bank Group to advance economic development by investing in for-profit and commercial projects for poverty reduction, promotion, development. The International Finance Corporation state aim is to create opportunity for people to escape poverty and achieve better living standard by mobilizing financial resources for private enterprise, promoting accessible competitive markets, supporting businesses and other private sector entities, creating job, delivering necessary services to those who are poverty sticker. Okay. Now the other international organization is MIGA, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. So MIGA is an international financial institute which offer political risk insurance. So this is what a political risk insurance organization and a credit enhancement guarantee. Okay, this guarantee help investor protect foreign direct investment against political and non-commercial risk in developing countries. MIGA is also the member of World Bank Group, and its headquarters is also in Washington DC. Listen, students, all the organization mentioned in this PPT, the headquarter of all the organization is in Washington DC. Okay, so it would be easy to you to remember the headquarter. Okay, large scale study. Okay, so in this MIGA, the large scale study on 100 of active energy project commissioned by World Bank Group has concluded that body is currently financing 21 billion of fossil fuel project compared to 7 billion renewable sector. So commissioned by German NGO Unigold study analyzed 670 global energy sector. This is an example of MIGA. Okay. Now let us discuss International Center for Settlement of Investment Dispute. Okay. So this is an International Arbitration Institute. Okay. So please note down this point. This is an International Arbitration Institute established in 1966 for legal dispute resolution and conciliation between international investors. The ICSID is a part of, funded by, obviously this is also the part of World Bank Group, headquartered in Washington DC. It is an autonomous multilateral specialized institute to encourage international flow of investment, mitigate non-commercial risk by treaty draft by International Bank of Reconstruction Development. Executive Director signed by member country as of May 2016. Now International Monetary Fund, IMF. The World Bank and IMF perform different functions, but they are often confused with each other, either with reference to their functions or with their operations. One must remember that the name World Bank does not refer to the bank in conventional sense. This is because it performs development function. An International Monetary Fund or IMF performs lending function, which we associate with banks. Okay, so basically the traditional function of banking is performed by IMF, and the developmental function are performed by World Bank. Okay, IMF headquarters is also in Washington DC, United States. So this is all about International Monetary Fund. Now let us move on to the next topic, that is Special Drawing Right or SDR. SDR is ISO 4213 currency code Z ZDR. Okay. So our supplementary foreign exchange reserve. This is what in supplementary foreign exchange reserve asset defined and maintained by International Monetary Fund. SDR are units of account for IMF, okay, and not a currency per se, okay. They instead represent a claim to currency held by IMF member countries for which they may be exchanging. SDR were created in 1969. Please note down the year. SDR were created in 1969 to supplement a shortage of preferred foreign exchange. Why they are created? To supplement shortfall of preferred foreign exchange reserve assets, namely gold and US dollar. SDR are allocated by IMF to countries and cannot be held or used by private parties. Okay, they are only allocated by the IMF and can't be held by private parties. The number of SDR is existing was around 21.4 billion in August 2019. So this is all about special drawing rights or SDR. Now let's move on to the next topic, that is Asian Development Bank, ADB. This is Regional Development Bank established in 19 December 1966. Please note down the year, 19 December 1966. And its headquarters is in Ortigas Center, located in Manila, Metro Manila, Philippines. Okay, so the headquarters is in Manila, Philippines. The company also maintains 31 field offices around the world to promote social and economic development in Asia. The bank admits the member of UN Economic Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. Okay. Formerly, it was known as Economic Commission for Asia and Far East, and non-regional development country from 31 members at established ADB now has 68 members. Now let us discuss Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank is a multilateral development bank that aims to support the building of infrastructure in Asian Pacific region. This currently has 74 member countries as 21 prospective members from around the world, and the bank start operation after agreement entered into force of 25th December 2015. Now let us discuss New Development Bank. New Development Bank formally refers to as BRICS Development Bank. It's multilateral development bank. This is also multilateral development bank established by BRICS state, as I already mentioned. According to agreement of New Development Bank, the bank shall support public or private projects through loans, guarantee, equity participation, other financial institute. The WTO, World Trade Organization, is an intergovernmental organization that is concerned. So we were discussing World Trade Organization. World Trade Organization is intergovernmental organization that is concerned with regulation of international trade between nations. World Trade Organization officially commenced on 1st January 1995 under the Marrakesh Agreement signed by 123 nations on 15th April 1994, replacing General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. Okay, so this is important point that we need to note down, that is it replaced GATT, which was established in 1948. It is the largest international economic organization in the world. World Trade Organization deals with regulation of trade in goods, services, intellectual property between participation countries by providing a framework for negotiating trade agreement and dispute resolution process aimed at enforcing participant adheres to WTO agreements, which are signed by representative of member governments, ratified by their parliaments. WTO prohibit discrimination between trading partner but provide exception for environmental protection. National security. Other important goals. Trade-related disputes are resolved by independent judge at WTO through dispute resolution process. Now let us discuss general agreement on tariff and trade. General agreement on tariffs and trade is a legal agreement between many countries whose overall purpose was to promote international trade by eliminating trade barriers such as tariff or quotas. According to its preamble, its purpose was the substantial reduction of tariff and other trade barrier, elimination of preference on reciprocal mutually advantageous basis. GATT was first discussed during United Nations Conference on Trade and Employment was outcome of failure of negotiating government to create International Trade Organization. Okay, it was signed by 23 nations in Geneva on October 30, 1947 and took effect in 1st January 1948. It remained in effect until the signature of 123 nations in Marrakesh on 14th April 1994 of Uruguay Round Agreement. This is very important. It was developed during Uruguay Round Agreement, which established the World Trade Organization on 1st January 1995. WTO is a successor to GATT. Original GATT text 1947 is still in effect under WTO framework, subject to modification of GATT 1994. Nations that were not party in 1995 to GATT need to meet the minimum conditions spelled out in specific documents before they can accede. In September 2019, the list contained 36 nations. Now let us discuss trade-related investment measures or TRIP. Trade-related investment measures are rules that are applicable to domestic regulation a country apply to foreign investor. So these are the domestic regulations of a country apply to foreign investor, often as a part of industrial policy. The agreement concluded in 1994 was negotiated under the WTO predecessors. The General Agreement on Tariff and Trade came into the force in 1995. The agreement was agreed upon by all members of WTO. Trade-related investment measure is one of the 4 principal legal agreement of WTO. This is one of the 4 important trade-related investment measure pillar. Okay, legal agreement. So TRIMs are rules that restrict preference of domestic firms, thereby enable international firms to operate more easily within foreign market. Policies such as local content requirement, trade balancing rules that having traditionally been used to both promote the interest of domestic industry and combat restrictive business practice are now banned. Now let us discuss TRIPS, trade related aspect of intellectual property rights. The agreement on trade related aspect of intellectual property right is international legal agreement between all the member nations of WTO. It sets down minimum standard for regulation by national government of many form of intellectual property as applied to national of other WTO member nation. TRIPS was negotiated at the end of Uruguay round of GATT between 1989 to 1990. TRIPS agreement introduced intellectual property law into multilateral trading system for first time and remain the most comprehensive multilateral agreement on intellectual property to the date. In 2001, developing country concerned that developed country were insisting on overly narrow reading of TRIPS, initiating a round talk that resulted in Doha Declaration. Doha Declaration is very important. Is a WTO statement that clarifies scope of TRIPS. State, for example, that TRIPS can and should be interpreted in lights of goal to promote access to medicine to all. Okay. Now, General Agreement on Trade and Service. This is a treaty of WTO that entered into force in January 1995 as a result of Uruguay round negotiation. The treaty was created to extend the multilateral trading system to service sector in the same way General Agreement on Tariff and Trade provides such system for mercantile trade. All members of WTO party to GATT's basic WTO principle of most favored nation applied GATT's as well. However, upon accession, member may introduce temporary exemption to this rule. Now SAARC, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation is intergovernmental organization, geographical union of states in South Asia. Its member states include Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. This comprises of 3% of world total population. SAARC was founded in Dhaka on 8th December 1985. Its secretariat is based on Kathmandu, Nepal. The organization promotes development of economic regional integration. It launched South Asian Free Trade Area in 2006. Maintained permanent diplomatic relation at United Nations as an observer and has developed link with multilateral entity including European Union. Now South Asian Free Trade Area SAFTA. SAFTA is an agreement reached on 6 January 2004 at 12th SAARC Summit in Islamabad, Pakistan. It created a free trade area of 1.6 billion people in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. I'm dictating these member country again because these are very important. So I'm dictating again Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka to reduce custom duty of all traded goods to zero by the year 2016. SAFTA agreement came into force on January 1st, 2006. So they are having 10-year plan that to reduce the trade of goods at zero custom duty. And operational follow the ratification of agreement by 7 governments. SAFTA require the developing country in South Asia, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, to bring their duty down to 20% in first phase of 2-year period ending 2007. In final 5-year phase ending 2012, 20% duty reduced to zero in a series of annual cuts. The least developed nation in South Asia are Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan and Maldives, and the most developed nation are India, Pakistan and Sri Lanka. So SAARC ratified the SAFTA protocol on 4th May 2011. Now let us discuss NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement. North is an agreement signed by Canada, Mexico, United States, created a trilateral trade bloc in North America. The agreement came into force in 1st January 1994. Supersede 1988 Canada-United States Free Trade Agreement between United States Canada. NAFTA trade bloc is one of the largest trade bloc in world by gross domestic production. The impetus for North America Free Trade Zone began with US President Ronald Reagan, who made the idea part of his 1980 presidential campaign after the signing of Canada-United States Free Trade Agreement in 1988. The administration of US President George Bush, Mexican President Carlos, Canadian President Brian agreed to negotiate what became NAFTA. Each submitted the agreement for ratification in their respective capital in December 1992. But NAFTA faced significant opposition in both United States and Canada. All 3 countries ratified NAFTA in 1993. After the addition of 2-side agreement, NAFTA on labor cooperation and NAFTA on environmental cooperation. Now let us discuss European Union. It's a political economic union of 28 member states that are located primarily in Europe. Its members have combined area of 4,475,757 km square. Established total population of 513 million. This was developed at an internal single market through standardized system of laws applying all member states in those matters. Only those matters where members have agreed to act as European Union politics. Now balance of payment. Balance of payment is also known as balance of international payment. Abbreviation is BOP. The country BOP is a country is record of all economic transaction between residents of country and the rest of the world in particular period of time. These transactions are made by individual firms, government body. Thus, the balance of payment include all external visible, non-visible transactions of a country. It is important issue to be studied, especially in international financial management field, for a few reasons. First, balance of payment provide detailed information concerning the demand and supply of a country currency. For example, if Sudan imports more than its export, then mean that quantity supplied of Sudan pound by domestic market is likely to exceed the quantity demanded in foreign exchange market. One thus infer the Swedenian pound would be under pressure to depreciation against other currency. If on the other hand, if Sudan export more than its import, then Sudan pound would be likely to appreciate. Secondly, the country balance of payment data may signal its potential as business partner for rest of the world. Thirdly, the balance of payment data can be used to evaluate the performance of country in international economics. Now, Dominican Republic Central America Free Trade Agreement, DR-CAFTA. DR-CAFTA is a free trade agreement, legally a treaty under international law. Originally, the agreement encompassed the United States, Central America country of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. Was SAFTA in 2004. Dominican Republic joined the negotiation. The agreement was named CAFTA-DR. CAFTA-DR, the NAFTA active bilateral free trade agreements such as Canada-Costa Rica free trade are seen as bloc agreement instead of free trade area of America. CAFTA-DR constitute the first free trade agreement between USA and a small group of developing countries. Now there is another term, that is Mercosur. Mercosur is a Spanish term. It's basically a South American trade bloc established by Treaty of Osnocia and Oro Proto. Now let us discuss Association of South Asian Nation, Asia. The Association of Southeast Asian Nation is regional intergovernmental organization comprising 10 countries in Southeast Asia which promote intergovernmental cooperation, facility economic, political, security, military, educational, socio-cultural integration among its members and other countries in Asia. ASEAN also regulate, engage other countries in Asia Pacific region and beyond. The major partner of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, ASEAN maintain a global network of aligned and diagnosed partner. Okay. Now let us discuss Pacific Agreement on Closer Economic Relation. So this is an umbrella agreement between members of Pacific Island Forum which provide the framework for future development of trade cooperation. It was first signed at Nauru on 18 August 2001, entered into a force on 3 October 2002. It is a framework agreement that sets an outline for future development of trade economic relation across forum region as a whole. It does not contain substantive trade liberalization provision. Now let us discuss Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. This proposed free trade agreement between 10 member states of Association of Southeast Asian, that is Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and its 6 FTA partners China, Japan, India, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. This negotiation were formally launched in November 2012 at Asian Summit in Cambodia. In 2017, prospective RCEP member state accounted for a population of 3.4 billion people with a total gross domestic production of 49.5 trillion, approximately 39% of world GDP. Now let us discuss Gulf Cooperation Council. The Cooperation Council for the Arab State of Gulf, originally known as Gulf Cooperation Council, is a regional intergovernmental political economic union consists of all Arab states of Persian Gulf except Iraq. Please note down this point. Except Iraq, namely Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates or UAE. The Charter of Gulf Cooperation Council was signed on 25th May 1981. Formally established the institution, all current member states are moralized, including 3 constitutional moralized and 2 absolute moralized. Federation moralized. There has been discussed regarding the future membership of Jordan, Morocco and Yemen. Now let us discuss international liquidity. International liquidity means all financial resources, facility that are available to monetary authority of individual country for financing deficit in their international balance of payment when all other source of supply of foreign fund prove insufficient to ensure a balance of international payment. Now let us discuss foreign exchange reserves. Foreign exchange reserves are cash or other reserves assets reserves held in central bank or other monetary authority that are primarily available to balance of payment of the country. Now, foreign direct investment is an investment in a form of controlling ownership in a business in one country by entity based in another country. It is just distinguished from foreign portfolio investment by notion of direct control. The origin of investment does not impact definition. This investment may be made either organically or buying a company in target country or organically by expanding the operation of existing business in that country. Broadly, FDI include merger, acquisition, building new facility, reinvestment profile, profits earned from overseas operation, intra-company loans. In narrow sense, foreign direct investment refer to just to building new facility and lasting management interest of 10% or more voting stock in enterprise operation in an economy other than that of investors. FDI is a sum of equity capital, long-term capital, short-term capital as shown in balance of payment. FDI usually involve participation in management, joint venture, transfer of technology, expertise. Stock of FDI is a net outward FDI minus inward FDI, cumulative FDI for any given period. Direct investment include investment through purchase of share. Now take an example of foreign direct investment. Typically there are two main type of foreign direct investment, horizontal and vertical. Horizontal, a business expanding its domestic operation to foreign country. In this case, the business conduct the same activity but in the foreign country. For example, McDonald's. McDonald's opening restaurant in Japan would be considering horizontal FDI. Now vertical business expanding into a foreign country by moving to the different level of supply chain. In other words, a firm conduct different activity abroad, but these activity are still related to the main business. Using the same example, McDonald could purchase a large scale farm in Canada to produce meat for their restaurant. However, two other forms of FDI have also been observed: conglomerate and platform FDI. So, conglomerate, a business acquire an unrelated business in a foreign country. This is an uncommon as it requires overcoming two barriers to entry: entering a foreign country and entering a new industry or the market. An example of this would be Virgin Group, which is based in United Kingdom, acquired clothing line in France. Now, platform. Now, platform is a business expanding into foreign country, but the output from foreign operation is exporting to third party. This is also referred to the export platform. FDI platform commonly happen in low cost location inside free trade area. Now let us discuss foreign institutional investment. Foreign institutional investors is an investor or investment fund registered in country outside of the one in which it is investing. Institutional investors most notably include hedge funds, insurance company, pension fund, mutual funds. The term is used most commonly in India and refers to outside companies investing in financial market of India. Country with highest volume of foreign institutional investment are those that have developing economy. These type of economies provide investor with higher growth potential than in mature economics. Now let us discuss greenfield and brownfield investment. These are of two type of foreign direct investment. Greenfield investing, a company with built its own brand new facilities from the group up. Brownfield investment happen when a company purchase, lease an existing facility. Now Now let us discuss Exim Bank. Export Import Bank of India is a financial institute in India established in 1982 under Export Import Bank of India Act 1981. Since its inception, Exim Bank of India has been both a catalyst and a key player in promotion of cross-border trade and investment. Commencing operation as a purveyor of export credit like other export credit agency in the world, Exim Bank India has over the period evolved into institutions that play major role in partnering Indian institute, particularly small and medium enterprises. Exim Bank is managed by Board of Director, which has representative from Government, Reserve Bank of India, Export Credit Guarantee Corporation of India, Financial Institute, Public Sector Bank, and a business community. The bank functions are segmented into several operation groups. First one is Corporate Banking Group, which handle a variety of financial functioning for export-oriented units, importers, and overseas investment. Then Project Financing Trade Finance Group handle the entire range of export credit service such as supplier credit, shipment agreement. Then Export Service Group offer variety of advisory and value added information service aiming at investment proposal. This is all about import export. Now data mining and data warehousing. So what is data warehousing? Data warehousing is keeping all the data in particular centered place so that whenever data is needed, the company can extract it. Okay, so data warehousing is an historical data, keeping historical data from different event functions within a company. Okay, so data warehousing is subject oriented, time variant, integrated, and non-volatile. These points you had to just keep in your mind, that data warehousing is historical data from different event functions within a company, keeping the historical data from different event functions within a company. This is subject oriented, and extracting this data is known as data mining. Okay, whenever the data is needed or required, extracting that data is known as data mining. So this is all about the topics of this unit. Now let us discuss some questions based on this unit. By definition, currency appreciations occur when the value of all the currency fall related to gold, the value of all currency rise related to gold, the value of one currency rise related to another currency, the value of one currency falls related to another currency. This is very easy question. The answer for this question is C, option C, the value of one currency rise related to another currency. Now next question is, giving a home country and a foreign country purchasing power parity suggests that the home currency will appreciate if the current home inflation rate exceed the current foreign inflation rate. The home currency will depreciate if currency home interest rates exceed the current foreign interest rate. The home currency will depreciate if the current home inflation rate exceed the current foreign inflation rate. The home currency will depreciate if the current home inflation rate exceed the current foreign interest rate. So the options are quite seems to be similar, but they aren't the similar one. So for this you need to know what is purchasing power parity. Purchasing power parity is the parity of two different countries, parity in their exchange rates. Okay, so this is purchasing power parity. The answer for this question is the home currency will depreciate if current home inflation rate exceed the current foreign inflation rate. The next question, the date of settlement for foreign exchange transaction is refers to as clearing date, swap date, or maturity or value date. This is like learning kind of question. You just need to remember the date. So this is answer for this question is value date. Okay, so thanks for watching. Keep watching, keep learning. Have a nice day.